you've had this amazing journey of really, being a emotion engineer. So you have this experience of understanding emotion, which is, what music is, and our fundamental element of, what we are is emotion. What was, and this is, I want you to talk about this app. I want to first tell us the name.
The app's called Noesis ASD, which stands for Autistic Spectrum Disorder. We got the idea from a guy that did 30 years worth of research. His name is Paul Ekman, and he established that there are 7 universal emotions on every race in the world. It's consistent. And out of those 7 emotions, there are facial units. There's muscles. There's 38 muscles in the face, and they make all sorts of contortions that go into those emotions. And so it triggered me, because we were actually working on an audio project that was, again, working with emotions. I'm thinking, well, what are we really looking at here? I'd like to know a little bit more about the face. And my partner at the time said, well, there's great technology out there. We should explore that. There might be something we could do other than music.
Let me ask you real quick, Glenn. So, you're deep into cinema and the audio, music. Not just music, but the audio effects. It's from butterflies to swords. How ironic, right? The duality. And you are told about this technology.
Right.
So here's this person that, you analyze faces, you're examining them with
well, I'll tell you
criticism.
Why.
Right.
I'll tell you why. We're constantly looking at actors and what they're trying to portray. And in order to get extremely accurate with what we perceive that we see on the screen, I felt like I needed to understand the face better. So this technology came along, and it was 92% accurate with capturing the percentage of the emotion from 0 to 100% on every single emotion. And I thought, well, that's going to give us insight into how to write music. And then, of course, I morphed. Well, hey, wait a minute. There's other verticals of business here that we could grab and go into. And I was living with an autistic child at the time, and I know the struggles. What I can say affectionately, he is emotionally blind. He walks into a room, he doesn't see emotions on people's faces. He struggles with it constantly. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I could do something here that might help him. Without generalizing too much, most autistic kids have trouble with emotion recognition. They don't see it. In some cases, they don't even see it on their mother's face. And can you imagine that a 4-year-old is looking at his mother, and his mother's trying to give him visual cues like, hey, I'm happy, but he's not picking that up at all.
Right.
And so he's just not reacting, and the parents don't understand what's going on. They don't see it until eventually they'll have the kid tested for autism and realize there's a problem there.
Why is that? What's the effect of the family for those that don't know, that haven't lived with this? What does this mean from a human element? What does that mean from a developmental?
When you don't get social cues from, like for example, Andrew, our son, when he was 4 or 5 years old, he wasn't picking up social cues from his peers at school. Whether they were happy or sad, he didn't get it at all. He didn't see that. In some cases, didn't even recognize the face. He couldn't tell you where his teacher was. He just didn't see the face. And that's the disorder. So without being, of course, that hampers him on just about everything, and it makes him fearful. For example, when Andrew went to elementary school, he got to the front door the first day. That was it. He couldn't go any further. He was afraid of all these images of faces flying around. Second day, we got past the front door to the door of his classroom, and that's as far as we got. it was excruciatingly hard, one step at a time, to get him in and comfortable. We didn't have this technology back then to help him, and to help him to see what he's looking at. The only thing out there was cartoon cards of people's happy and people sad, but it didn't bring it into the real world. It was just even to Andrew, that was a cartoon. And to this day, Andrew is in love with anime because he could relate to anime, but he couldn't relate to real people.
How frustrating that must have been with a child, and you're a professional in creating emotions and from audio to visual, and this is the total opposite at home.
Very frustrating. Yeah. Every time we would have a gathering of people, Andrew would either do one of two things. He would burst into the room and interrupt everybody's conversation because he didn't recognize conversations were going on. He didn't recognize emotions flying around the room, and no matter what it is, in different conversations. So he would just break in. It was frustrating because to us, he was rude. To him, he didn't even know stuff was going on. It was supremely difficult.
So this technology comes across your attention, and then explain this discovery, the aha moment, and then how it inspired.
Sure.
Yeah.
I very early on figured out, in order to be effective, you can show the child all day long people's faces. You can say, this is happy, whatever, but he'll only grasp it to a certain extent until you turn the camera back on his face. Once you turn the camera back around and you show his face and you say, you make that surprise face, and he'll go, how do I do that? No clue. He can't express it on his own face until I took the algorithm and I'm like, okay, there's 7 basic emotions, but each emotion has a facial muscle that will indicate that emotion. It's just called a sub-expression. I'll give you an example. Vladimir Putin for Russia is very famous for his contempt face, because contempt has 2 expressions. It has a brow furrow and it has a smirk. That's that kind of look, right? It's the contempt. So you're always looking at Putin. He's like, yeah, he's got that look on him. So I go to Andrew to say, make a contempt face. Okay, do one at a time. Do that with your eyebrows first. Okay, furl, scrunch your eyebrows. Oh, he does that? Great. Well, it took him a while to figure that out until he saw his own face. Then he went, oh, this is easy now. So then do a smirk. He's like, he's trying to figure it out. And I went like this with his mouth, do that. You got it right away. I said, put them both together. And then the light went on. Anyway, oh, and within 2 or 3 days, and the app is geared to test him daily, and we grab the metrics of the emotion, and it's a percentage, like I said, 0 to 100. He got to 100 in about the 3rd day. He started out about 20%, then the next day he got 30%. And again, it's the repetition that taught him. The hardest one for him was anger. That emotion is probably the hardest for anybody, because you can make an angry face in a variety of different ways, because there's multiple sub-expressions. Here's an anger face for you that has big eyes, like that, or there's another angry with slitty eyes, you can squint your eyes and give me an angry face. Or you can go, that kind of anger, or this kind of anger with a pinch of the nose. All those different things still make up anger. So it's difficult for an autistic kid to put that together and start recognizing it in people. So that's what the app does. It turns it back on the child, lets him make it himself, and then all of a sudden he walks into a room, oh, I get it now, right?